Can you say hard hats, folks? Hard hats, lunch pail, steel toe boots.
Anything short of a championship this year is a failure. Look at this boomer right here.
You've just got so much talent here.
Somebody said we need to apologize for Jalen.
Can I close it, John? What are we apologizing for? What did we say? What did we do? Hey, Buddy Manning here. Welcome to a breaking news edition of the Garden Report. And with news like this, we do go live. And Noah Dalzell is here. Ahead of Kristaps Porzingis' season debut, we got Celtics Clippers tonight, 7:30. Probably a week earlier than I anticipated, Noah. I know we both had a sense that this was coming very soon here, especially after a strong scrimmage just a week ago today with the main Celtics there. And again, everyone who watched that scrimmage was blown away, and the fallout of that was that sooner rather than later we're going to see Porzingis. I asked Joe yesterday, has he been cleared? And he wouldn't answer. And obviously, within 24 hours, he'd be back. So there you go. You thought we'd see like a doubtful, a questionable. We're seeing a probable here with Porzingis, and he's going to go tonight as our own Cam from the
Celtics Lab.
Celtics Wire.
Shout out Cam, not getting enough credit here. He broke the news.
He broke the news 5 minutes before Shams, a couple minutes before the injury report came out. So that's big. This is big news to break. So shout out to him. And man, I'm excited to watch him tonight. I think he's going to come out guns blazing, just like he did in the finals. That's how he's looked in these workouts that we've seen.
Yeah, I mean, we have no reason to think that he's not going to, because he has such a track record of coming back from these injuries and just being dominant off the bat. I will say, so it's funny, Bobby, you weren't on yesterday on the show when we were talking about this. But I was saying, I know he's going to come back. It's going to be any day now. And Jimmy put me on the spot and was like, say he's coming back tomorrow. And I was like, I can't say that because I had no sources to think that. But he was running up and down the court pregame. He scrimmaged last week, as you said. Everything, all the signs were there that it was imminent. And it's a good timing because Luke's out tonight, or he's doubtful, but he's been dealing with something. Al obviously played yesterday. So this would have been a game where they're really leaning on Mimi and X. And now you get probably 15, 20 minutes of Porzingis. I don't think we're going to see extended minutes for him. But nevertheless, huge to just have him be impactful. And to just ease him back in so much earlier than I anticipated. I mean, after Summer League and after talking to Brad there, I thought we were going to see a post-Christmas return, maybe even January. That's how conservative they were taking it. So the fact that it's 17 games in and they only have 3 losses is best case scenario.
Yeah, for sure. And then camp came around and they grew increasingly optimistic around that time. I remember Brad saying that they were even a little bit surprised with where he was at to start camp there. So he started getting that sense. And he did say in that ESPN story, if he stayed ahead of schedule and he continued to push back, and that was his thing. And Joe has said it the whole way through that he's trying to come back as soon as possible here. November was in play. And here we are, November 25th, him making his debut here. So I haven't checked back in with the doctors / medical people here, but, a good friend of the show, Dr. Flynn, when I talked to her around the time he suffered the injury here and, underwent surgery, she didn't have concern about him coming back from this. She said at the time that once you're healed from this, once you're done with the recovery process, and he's clearly been done with the recovery process for a little while here, doing pre-game workouts, doing a scrimmage last week. That stuff all signaled to me that he was cleared and good to go even a week ago. So at this point, it's just ramp up. And I know a lot of people are freaking out saying, oh, he's coming back too soon. Why are you rushing this? I don't think this is an injury you would have benefited from waiting longer if you're good to go here. If he gets hurt again or something else happens, I don't think it will be because he came back too soon from this. So I wouldn't be too concerned about that. The concern, I guess, is that it's always something. It was the calf in the playoffs, and then there were just random things last year that would come up and cost them 3-4 games here or there. There's a ton of games coming up next week, so they're obviously going to have to manage him generally because he's just been hurt so much in his career, and even to start his career in Boston. But I don't think if he does get hurt through some point of the rest of the regular season here, it'll be because, they rushed him back. I think he's good to go.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, I think people feel nervous watching him play in general because every game that he plays, he's at risk of injury, like anybody else, but he's at higher risk. But the reality is that if he gets hurt, knock on wood, it's not because I don't think it's going to be because they brought him back too soon. It's going to be because he got hurt. Like it's not. I think he's been ready to go for a long time. And when we heard from him, almost 2 months ago now at media day, and he was like, he made it pretty clear that I think he was feeling really confident. And that the recovery was faster than they anticipated. And again, like the 6-month timeline is based on an injury that very few NBA players have had. So we don't really know. It's not like he had an ACL tear and then he came back, 3 months before most NBA players do. Like this might just be the regular schedule. So yeah, it's super exciting. I think honestly, like the season needed it a little bit, like from a what's it called? Like a narrative standpoint. It's been a lot of kind of like not boring games, but not the most exciting stretch of the schedule. We talked about it yesterday. There's not like a clear rival. So Porzingis coming back is going to infuse some life into I think just like the storylines, the fan base. It's going to be super exciting to be in the building tonight. I think his return is going to be electric. So I'm really glad from that standpoint too. And obviously Friday is a big game with, the NBA Cup on the line for Chicago. So I don't know if he'll be back for that, but I'm assuming that he probably will play because, you have a couple days in between off here. So yeah, just better than we could have really hoped for everything up to this point so far.
Yeah, the timing for the return here works out well this week. Next week, they're going to have to manage some stuff. They got Cleveland Sunday, Miami Monday, some back-to-backs. And, like last year, they staggered Porzingis and Horford's rest in those back-to-back situations or heavy workload situations there. They allowed each other to rest the last regular season. That's, of course, what they're going to do tonight here. Al Horford probably going to sit out, as he often does on the back end of back-to-backs. Luke Cornett still dealing with that hamstring, listed doubtful tonight. And they've obviously worked Xavier Tillman back into the mix. I wonder if this is why they sat Cade out last night, anticipating that they'd need a little bit more from him in this game here as they work Porzingis back in. It'll be interesting to see, too, whether he starts or not. I'd have to imagine he does.
You think?
I think so. He'll probably start because it's just the pomp and circumstance of the moment. And, then he'll come out early if he needs to. There's a minute restriction or anything like that. So I can't imagine they'd start Tillman or Cade over him here in this situation. So we'll see. They did it obviously in the playoffs last year. I think that was a little bit of a different situation. But either way, it'll be pretty cool when he comes out there tonight. But in terms of on the court, we've talked about it. I think it's the most interesting thing about his return here is that they've had problems defensively, particularly around the rim. And I think we've all chalked it up to how much do they care right now? 1 and 2, Porzingis isn't there. When he comes back, a lot of this will get fixed. So here he is. He's back. It's a team that's pretty imposing inside with Zubac and, Harden and Powell will be attacking him, I'm sure. And, they're going to go after him a little bit here, just like the Mavs did when he came back from the injury in the finals. So obviously I'm not expecting everything to be fixed here tonight. But over the next couple of weeks here, do we start to see a difference in terms of their defense? And obviously, he'll bring a new dynamic to the offense. But is he going to solve some of the things we've watched so far, you feel like?
Yeah, I mean, that's the hope, right? We've talked a lot about the rim protection. I will say, diving into the numbers on this team, and Sean Grandy, who does the radio play-by-play, he had a great stat yesterday where he kind of showed what last year's team was through 17 games and what this year's team was. And it's almost identical as far as defensive numbers, offensive numbers, point differential, record, everything. It's actually a little bit better this season. So I do think that we're used to watching this team dominate because that's what we remember, but they've actually been pretty good so far. And part of the defensive scheme is to allow twos and to allow post players to guard guards. Like they're accepting that. So yes, I think he's going to help them quite a bit, but I also think that they're not in a tough spot here. They've actually been better than I think maybe they've seemed. I think the analytics look better than the eye test does. But he's going to be huge. Offensively, he's going to diversify what they're doing. I think everybody's bored of all the 3-pointers a little bit. He's going to provide a little bit of a different dynamic offensively. So there's going to be a lot of fun things about his return. Honestly, I'm really excited about just his presence, the way that he connects with the fans, the energy that he has out there. I remember last
year.
The press conferences, give us a fun Porzingis quote. So he just brings an element of joy to this team. Not that there's not joy, but he's just such a joyful guy that I think that's going to be a lot of fun as well. Besides for the fact that he's 7 foot whatever and is going to deter guys at the rim. And Anthony Edwards is an example of somebody who's actually said Porzingis deters him more than almost any other big man in the league as far as rim protection. So
Yeah, I think it's going to make a difference in every sense. And you can already see how excited we are about it. We'll continue the conversation throughout the night. Noah heading on to some other interviews and work here. So we'll let her go and continue the conversation with you guys here. Good to hear from you, Noah, and I'll see you later.
And I did call it off of vibes. Thanks, Bobby. See you guys later.
So let's get into some words from our sponsors here, and we'll keep chatting with you guys for a little bit because it's obviously big news here today. Kristaps Porzingis coming back from his injury, and right now over on Prize Picks, I'm sure they're going to have some interesting numbers and stat projections for Porzingis tonight. I can't wait to see till what their numbers are going into tonight. Points, rebounds. I think that's always a tricky thing. A guy coming back from injury, how much is he going to play? How much is he going to impact the team right away? But that's what I love about Prize Picks. You can go over there, see what they're thinking guys are going to do. You pick 2 or more players, pick more or less in their stat projections, and you have your fantasy team. And especially now for football, too. It's obviously Monday night. Your teams are all shattered. One of mine's 2-9 or 2-10 now, 3-9, whatever it is, how many weeks we played. So either your team's done or everybody's hurt, and you want to still have that feeling of setting your lineup and making selections of guys who are going to do well each week. That's where Prize Picks comes into play here. And they also have the injury insurance. So, a guy goes down the first half, your lineup stays in play for the second half here. So right now, still offering $50 instantly when you play a $5 lineup. So go check them out right now. Always a great time over on Prize Picks. And I believe they have, they're always marketing a free square, and that's huge, right? Because you only need to pick 2 here. 1 free square can make all the difference. So there's one coming up here on Thanksgiving on Thursday. We got Dolphins, Packers, and Tyreek Hill only needs to get 0.5 receiving yards to cash his free pick. The free pick is going to be heading out on 11/21, so it's already out right now. 0.5 receiving yards for his projection to hit. And if you get one more stat projection, you can win real cash over on Prize Picks. So that's going on right now. Tyreek Hill, free square essentially there, as well as a $50 bonus when you play a $5 lineup. So great week to try out Prize Picks right now. And game time. They're in Boston tonight. Celtics, Clippers, it's a fun matchup. These two teams have played really good games. I know Noah was talking about Grandy there and some of the stuff he was putting out last night. He has the Clippers at 9-7 over the last 16 at the Garden, I believe, against the Celtics here. So they've been competitive at TD Garden going back a little while right now. I'll try to pull up that stat in full here, but it's a big game tonight. Obviously, Porzingis coming back, but the Clippers have pushed the Celtics, and they're playing pretty well even without Kawhi Leonard right now. Obviously, last year, it was a debacle of a game in Boston where the Clippers ran away with it a little bit there. Truly the only time, and the Celtics have now won 50 of 57 at home, Grandy notes. The only time they've been destroyed at home over the last couple of years here is against the Clippers in that game. But no Kawhi. Celtics getting Porzingis back. They'll try to reverse that trend a little bit and take care of the Clippers tonight convincingly, like they have most of their opponents to start this year. So you want to be in the building? It's a great one to be at. I'm sure right now people are rushing over to Game Time and the other ticketing places where they can find their tickets and trying to find the best deal. But the best deal is at Game Time. Why? Because they got all-in pricing, so you know exactly what you're playing. There's always all kinds of flash and zone deals, and you get a panoramic view of your seat, which the Garden, not usually a huge issue, but Fenway, some of these other spots, you can usually have some issues with obstructions or whatever it is. So that seat view is my favorite part of using the Game Time app, and they're throwing in $20 off when you use the code CLNS. Terms apply. Go over there and check that out. See what the prices are going for here tonight. I'll try to pull that up too. Because, again, this wasn't a marquee game. Kawhi out back-to-back Monday night at the Garden. But Porzingis being active tonight now, obviously going to be a much bigger deal. So I would head over there quickly and see what you can get it for. And as I pull it up right now, there's a balcony ticket for $79 to see Porzingis play tonight. That's right, $79 gets you into the Garden tonight. I see some 84, 85, 96. Now that this news is out there, I don't think those ones are going to last long. So again, use the code CLNS to let them know we sent you over there, and go see Porzingis' return tonight. So continuing on here, Porzingis is back. I just asked Noah, the main thing I'm curious about here, is he going to solve some of their issues? I don't know. I think he's going to look good coming back. I think he's going to be a load offensively for defenses to handle. We saw it in the finals after all our consternation about, what's he going to look like? He hasn't played in weeks and weeks. He came back and had the best game of his Celtics career in his first game back in the finals there. So there's adrenaline there. There's huge stakes. There's less of a layoff than what we've seen here. So this could be a bit of a different situation. But one thing I've said is we've talked about him coming back is these pregame workouts, the visuals we're getting of him shooting around, running around, and he's been pretty active in terms of his movements in those spots. He looks like himself. And I talked to Xavier Tillman and the other people who watched the scrimmage, and again, he looked like Porzingis was the main takeaway I got of that scrimmage a week ago. So I don't think there's going to be any major rust that we see from him, but the question I have here, again, is he going to solve the rim protection issues? Is he going to make a major impact on the defense? Are they going to be in perfect sync right away? Obviously, these are things you're not expecting him to do tonight or even in the coming games here, but it's been the conversation we've had. They've struggled to protect the rim a little bit, some of it by design, some of it by effort, as Joe Mazzulla has talked about, individual efforts defensively, guys getting blown by. Pritchard and others have talked about that. And Drew Holiday mentioned a week or two ago here that Porzingis' presence alone will allow them to be a little more aggressive on the perimeter, allow them to know that there's going to be that second layer of defense behind them, 7'2" or 3" guy behind them who can just rotate over, reject shots, and make things easier for them on that end of the floor. So it's obviously going to be a difference just having him in there over Horford tonight. Less Cada, less Tillman, less Cornette as he starts to ease his way back in here. So just steadier defense between the two main centers on this team compared to some of the depth guys that we've watched to start this year. And those guys did well. I thought Cornette was solid at the beginning of the year. Cada obviously gave them a huge boost over the last couple of weeks here. That's one thing I'm excited to watch tonight too, is Cada and Porzingis playing a little bit, sliding Porzingis over to that 4, playing him on like a Derek Jones that he can roam away from and protect the rim. Those are some interesting combinations. Tillman, I'm sure he'll still be in the mix a little bit tonight with Horford and Cornette out. So those are some ways you can keep experimenting to see, all right, are these good double big combinations that can survive on both ends of the floor? Obviously, Porzingis' shooting helps you with that. If you're going to play a non-shooting big at that 5 spot like Cada or Cornette, and then you can just increase your size, increase your rebounding ability. You can make a more dominant effort on the offensive glass, which is something that I feel like the team still wants to do a little bit better here. So the possibilities are just endless. And it's going to be more exciting. I think that was a good point by Noah, that there's just going to be some more versatility in the offense now. You're going to go to some more post-ups. You're going to go to some more pick and roll where you can actually hit the big on the roll for a finish. And you're going to be able to shore up some of the defensive issues that we saw to start this year. And for our purposes, we're going to get some better quotes now, because this guy is the best quote on the team by far. Not to sell Jalen short, who's been pretty good and was pretty good again last night. But just such a pleasant surprise here. When I did that reporting a week ago, when I even heard some rumblings this morning of things starting to move in this direction, I was thinking Friday, maybe. Next week, certainly, as we got into the December timeline, I was thinking next week would probably be the most likely time we saw Porzingis. But we're about to see him here on November 25th. And that's pretty exciting. So going to go to one more read before we get out of here. Let you guys throw in some questions, final thoughts here in the chat while I queue this up. And right now, we welcome back to the Garden Report a good friend of ours. It is Nutrafol. And Nutrafol right now offering you first month's subscription, $10 off with free shipping. And free shipping is as good as it gets when it comes to these kind of things. Makes all the difference in the world, especially ahead of Good Friday here, the holidays coming up. Like, give the gift of Nutrafol. And the best part about Nutrafol is it's the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement brand, trusted by over 1 million people. You know that. And you see thicker, stronger, faster growing hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol. But it's not one size fits all. You got different formulas for men, for women. A one size fits all approach to hair growth doesn't cut it. They have multiple different options for men and women that are tailored to different life stages and lifestyle factors, so you get exactly what you need. It's physician formulated with 100% drug-free ingredients that support healthy hair growth from within by targeting key root causes of thinning, stress, hormones, aging, nutrition, lifestyle, and metabolism through whole body health. So anything you need some sort of specialization through for you, they got it. Again, stress, hormones, aging, nutrition, lifestyle, metabolism. Those are all the factors that can cause thinning in your hair. So they combat those with their formula over there at Nutrafol, and again, specialize it to you. So whether you're gifting it to yourself, which is always a good thing this time of year, sometimes you got to treat yourself or a loved one, give the gift of great hair growth this holiday season. Right now, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off any order. Enjoy free shipping when you subscribe. Huge. Go to Nutrafol.com and enter the promo code Garden Gift. That's a new one right here. Garden Gift is the code. I know you see Garden below there, but it's GARDNGIFT, one word, over at the promo code spot to let them know we sent you. That's Nutrafol.com, Nutrafol.com/Garden Gift. Promo code is Garden Gift to go get $10 off your first month subscription, as well as free shipping over there. So we'll go to the comments and see what you guys are talking about here before we get out of here. We'll obviously be back with post game tonight, reaction to Porzingis' debut. We'll certainly hear from him tonight, and the injury report. I know it was our guy Cam over at the Celtics Lab podcast here on CLNS Media who put it out there first that Porzingis will be playing tonight. That's ginormous. Shout out to him. And Shams came around, did his reporting a couple minutes later. Plus, the injury report, which shows Porzingis is probable this afternoon, and Horford going to sit the back end of a back-to-back almost certainly here. Looks like Luke Cornett is doubtful as well. So any questions you guys got? Any thoughts? We'll take them before we wrap this up. Head over to TD Garden in a little bit. Just checking on the 12:30 injury report that just came out. Clippers haven't submitted theirs yet, so we'll see who's playing on that side. Obviously, Kawhi's out. How many minutes? I'm going to go 15-20 here. Not because he's restricted, but just from a conditioning standpoint, I don't think he's going to go full go this early on here. So I think that's reasonable. Does he push to 24, something like that? Maybe if it's a close game and they want to extend him a little bit, maybe. But I think 15-20 is probably the best bet here. And I do think he starts this one. So Kata, Tillman, going to have to be ready to fill out the rest of those minutes. Kata, of course, didn't play yesterday. So there's that. How long? Oh, I like this. I was actually thinking about this. How long of a win streak is Boston set to go on now with Porzingis in the lineup? So they're 5, right? Their season high here. And we talked coming into the season, are we about to see a 2009-like start from the Celtics? And the sense was probably not, in my mind. You were running back most of the roster, right? But Porzingis is out. Obviously, in 2009, you had the KG injury late. It was going to be on the front end now that you were dealing with something like that with Porzingis out. So similar to that year, that team started 8-2. So they lost 2 games pretty quickly, just like this team did. Obviously, Celtics are at 3 losses now. That team didn't lose its 3rd game until December 25th on Christmas. So already 1 game behind schedule in that sense. But that team did go on a massive 19-game win streak between the end of November and the end of December. So nearly a month, roughly, where they didn't lose a game. And when you look at the stretch ahead for the Celtics here, I think tonight's winnable. Obviously going to be a challenging game, but I think you can win at your home court without Kawhi, all that. And then coming up after that, it's the Bulls, it's the Cavs. We'll see how healthy they are Sunday. That's obviously going to be a tough one. Heat, Pistons, Bucks, Grizzlies, Bulls, couple Bulls games coming up in December. So there's some tough games there. You obviously got the Sixers matchup on Christmas and a tough trip to Orlando right before that. So the amount of games that we're going to see from the Celtics coming up, a back-to-back obviously tonight, back-to-back Sunday and Monday next week, and then a back-to-back Friday and Saturday next weekend. That's challenging. And guys are going to have to sit out. Porzingis is going to have to sit out some of those. So are we going to see, who was that record exactly to start 09? 27-2. Obviously, we're not going to see that because they've already lost 3 games. But I don't even think we're going to see 15, 20 games in a row here for them extending beyond this 5-game win streak. I think the schedule is just going to dictate that, and them managing guys and even the matchups. It's a tougher league, I think, right now competitively than it was in 2009. So I think this will extend a little bit here. I think, you're going to go to 7 if you can win tonight and beat Chicago on Friday. Sunday's going to be tough. So that could be the swing game in this, extending into something major. But they're finding ways to win right now, as we talked about last night. Last night was a game they easily could have lost, and they pulled it out late. So that's been the kind of team they've been early on. And despite those slip-ups in a couple different spots, especially the Atlanta game, where you're like, all right, this isn't going to be a 2009 level spot. Porzingis' return tonight, as well as their ability to get back on track in some of these games, makes you feel better about them having a monstrous start that sets them apart in the standings, as well as, makes you feel pretty good about what their record's going to be through the midway point, quarter-way point of the season here. So tough to gauge. I guess, to answer this question, I'm going to go 7 in a row here before they drop a game. So would it stun me if they go on something longer? No, but I think it's going to be challenging as you try to manage a couple guys right here. But I certainly feel much better about this team, given what we've seen, given this return, even given the development in the East. I thought the East was going to be better this year than it's been, and not quite. So that'll do it for us. We're back tonight, and we'll have reaction to Porzingis' return. I think John's joining us. No Jimmy. He might come back later in the show to celebrate Porzingis' return. I think Sherrod will be back in the mix tonight as well, and Noah, of course, too. She gave her thoughts if you just join us on the front end of the show, so you can go back and listen to that, rewind the show, start from the beginning. And, of course, quick shout-out to our sponsors, Prize Picks. Use the code CLNS over there. Get your free Tyreek Hill Square right now as well for Thanksgiving. That's available now. You can go to the Game Time app and use the code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. And go to Nutrafol and use the code Garden Gift. There it is right there, Nutrafol.com. Use Garden Gift to get $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping. The news today, in case you're just tuning in or missed it, Kristaps Porzingis, probable tonight on the injury report. Our guy Cam at the Celtics Lab podcast reported it first. Porzingis going to return tonight. And Horford, Luke Cornett, both listed as doubtful for this game. So I'll be over at the Garden in a little bit. We'll see his warm-up. I'm sure all eyes will be on his warm-up, see how he looks, and get ready for that tunnel exit. They'll be playing the WWE music and all that to celebrate Porzingis' return in front of the Garden fans here tonight. I'm Bobby Manning, and this has been a news edition of the Garden Report.
Wait, Amit's got an outro for us, I think.
No, he doesn't.
He said he was going to work on an outro.
He had a phenomenal game.
Horford's out. I think it's an option. That did not sound like a chair.
It was a freaking chair. It does sound like a chair.